Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of my scarcity series. That's right, Spectrum of Economics is back with part 2. So let's just do a quick recap of what we covered in part 1. So if you remember, we looked at a simple scenario of 4 individuals on an island: Fred Flintstone, Clonk the Caveman, IR the Baboon, and Patrick Star. So we looked at it in terms of Fred being in control of the banana. He owns a banana, and the other 3 are trying to compete to get that. So they tried to convince Fred to trade his banana for whatever they happened to have. So IR had a car, Clonk had a hammer, and Patrick had a pineapple. So in today's video, part 2, we're going to be expanding a little bit on where we left off. So we're just going to take a look at the types of, well, 2 types of scarcity that I've defined them as anyway. And you're probably not going to find this in textbooks. So, if you're looking afterwards, where did this phrase come from? No, you're not going to find it, because I more or less am using this to describe how I feel scarcity works. So what we got here are the Georgia Guidestones. This, we see circled here, relates directly to scarcity, and what it says is maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. So what this is saying here is that we have too many people in the world. In other words, implying that scarcity is a very, very serious problem. Well, according to whoever wrote these Georgia Guidestones. These mysterious Guidestones have just appeared out anywhere. But anyway, I'm sure there's certain agendas behind that. But that seems rather dramatic, doesn't it? Because we're up to our 8 billion people now, so that's what, 1/16 of the population. So it's saying that scarcity is really an absolutely enormous problem. So, okay, so let's make this simple again. Let's have all these clonks, as you can see here, lots and lots of clonks, we'll just call them people. So imagine you have a scenario where there is 600 kilograms of food available, and you have a population of 10 people. So in other words, if everybody went to work, they could gather that 600 kilograms of food, and they could have 60 kilograms each. And take, for example, people can live very comfortably, just imagine that, I'm not saying this is a fact, but if they can live very comfortably on just 50 kilograms of food a day, then what have you got? You've got a situation where everybody can be comfortable. Everybody can have their 50 kilograms. In fact, they can have 60 kilograms. So there's surplus. There is no scarcity at all. That's wonderful. What if, for example, there was only 300 kilograms of food? That means on average, each person, you divide it by 10, still the same 10 people, you only have 30 kilograms of food. So maybe you can survive on 20 kilograms of food, let's say. 50 kilograms of food, you'll be comfortable, you can go big and strong, you can work out, you can be like me. Or on the 20, you'd be a skinny guy, but you'd still be barely alive. So what happens here? So if everybody shared it evenly, you would have 30 kilograms each. But in reality, that's probably unlikely. A lot of people will still want to get their 50 kilograms. That's where scarcity hits in. People will then start competing for that food. So you may get some that reach the 50, then there'll be others that go right the way down to 20, and some of them even starving. And as you go back to Georgia Guidestones, people starving, people dying, then you have less people. Maybe you have 7 or 8 people competing for 300 kilograms, and then scarcity is less of a problem. So you can see that's one way of solving scarcity, is eliminating people. Also, it depends on the type of scarcity we're talking about, and I don't like at all what the Georgia Guidestones are proposing, and I think it's another complete crock, the fact that they're saying that we need to have so few people. In fact, I think there's enough to go around for all 8 billion people in the world. Maybe even 10, or 12, or even 14 billion people. I don't see scarcity as that kind of problem, but anyway, don't just judge me on that. I'm going to go through this series and explain to you why I don't see scarcity as a problem to the extent that is being portrayed by the Georgia Guidestones. Let's go back to our 600 kilograms of food. Let's have another scenario now. Let's say we have, out of the 10 people, we got 2 landowners. And these landowners, they own all the land with all the food on it. So you got the 2 landowners, and you got 600 kilograms of food. So what do the landowners do? They say to the other 8, they say, hey buddy, you come work on my land, you get half of what you collect. Does that sound fair? And then the other half goes to the landowners. Okay. So what happens is, all of them are very hard working, so they go all out and they collect the 600 kilograms of food. Remember, the harder you work, the more you get back in return. But once you do the maths, once you take out the two landowners, who will get half of that 600 kilograms, so you get 300 kilograms, and that leaves 300 kilograms for the gatherers. So you divide that by the 8. You realize that they're only averaging 37.5 kilograms. Some of them obviously will get more than that, the ones that will work harder, work more efficient, and there'll be ones getting less than that, and some may even go below what we said was the 20 kilograms required to survive, and they would actually die. You can have a system where they share amongst each other. Again, you could get back up to around 37.5 kilograms of food, but they're not living comfortably. Scarcity has now become a problem. Whereas you've got the two landowners, 150 kilograms each. They're living it up, they're hoarding it. And that's what you get in the real world. If you just look at how wealth is distributed. You've got the Gini coefficient, if you're aware of that. That shows the distribution of income and how that's spread out with the population. You realize that 1% of the world has a very large percentage of the wealth compared to the remaining 99%. So that is our example with our landowners. What if we look at government? Let's say now we've still got our 10 people. 2 people now form government. Let's call them the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. So what they do is, if we go to a very radical left wing, so let's imagine something similar to communism. So now the government own everything, own the land. People don't know anything. So what the government say, you go work the land, we'll give you that 20 kilograms to survive. So everybody is guaranteed 20 kilograms of food to survive. So no one's going to starve, but no one's going to live comfortably either. And there's very little incentive for our little workers to collect more food. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter how much I collect, I'm going to get my 20 kilograms anyway. I'm going to be, just getting the basics. Why am I going to work exceedingly hard? So what the likely outcome is that not all of that 600 kilograms is going to be collected. Some people will still be willing to work hard, maybe. There's a sense of pride in that, but let's just assume that now only 300 kilograms of food is actually collected. Sure, that's enough for the 8 people, but it's not, so that gives us what, 20 times 8, 160 kilograms of food. Yeah, and then whatever's left over hangs with the government and whatever they're doing with it. But they get to distribute, 300 kilograms. They keep the 140 stashed away for future years or something like that in case we have shortages. But overall, by having this sort of system, you're likely to get wastage. You will get scarcity because people are just getting their bare necessities. When there isn't a need, there could have been 600 kilograms of food shared very nicely across all 10 people. So it's sort of bringing us towards the end now of this. So what have we got so far? So we've got 2 types of scarcity. So we've got natural form of scarcity. So that occurs basically when there's not enough resources to go around and we've got to compete with it. And we've also got another type of scarcity. This is what I'm going to call contrived scarcity. So this scarcity occurs because we have landowners that control ownership of the land or other factors of production. In this case, we're just talking about land. And we also have the government, who could also be the landowner as well. So what we have there is that they are limiting the supply, therefore people have to compete for that remaining supply. So the landowners, they take the bump of the share because they own the land. So they control who goes on and off the land, but they need people to work that land. So what they do is they give those a share. So that would be like your salaries, for example. If you're working for a big corporation, you get the salaries. But your salary is nothing in comparison to the profits that the company earns, in most cases anyway. And with the government as well, the government need enough to distribute to everybody, but you have a lack of incentive to work hard simply because everybody's getting the same. And that would be typical of a communist system. But both those forms, should we call that authority, results in scarcity. So whether it be the right wing, a strong right wing where you've got market capitalism, you get scarcity because you've got large corporations control the factors of production. On the other end, the far left, you also get scarcity where government controls all of the factors, or most of the factors of production, and then they're basically just distributing it out so people get the bare minimum, but there's a scarcity because that's been imposed by the government. And it's also been imposed the fact there's a lack of incentive to produce more, there's a lack of incentive to improve technology, there's a lack of incentive to improve efficiency, simply because you always get the same. So scarcity is then created when it shouldn't be. Okay, that comes to the end of my second part. So the 2 big things I'd like you to take away from this is, first off, scarcity may or may not exist, but it may exist in 2 types of forms that I've described, a natural form of scarcity in the sense that there isn't enough out there for everyone, and also contrived scarcity, which is created by individuals, whether that would be those that own factors of production directly, or whether it is the government who have taken possession of that. But that takes me to the end of part 2. If you enjoyed this video, remember to click the like button. If you want to see more videos in this series, so I've still got 3 more to go, click the subscribe button. I also have several more videos relating to microeconomic concepts, some macroeconomic concepts. I look into things like some controversial areas. I call it the dark side of economics. I go into a little bit of politics occasionally, and I've also got my series Vegan Economics. So like I said, if any of that interests you, remember to hit the subscribe button. I'm also on Steemit as well, and you can go there and you can actually read up on a lot of the stuff I'm presenting in these videos. And I present that in writing and in photos. Anyway, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you for part 3.